All right, hello and welcome. This is Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan. Joining me today, as always, Bracken Crocker, Jack Bauer. Today, we are going to cover the final stop at the 3K series for Spartan race in Mexico. But Jack, what town was that in?
What town?
Yeah, hit me with that.
San Luis Potosí.
Perfect. And then we got a high rocks or two to talk about. Then a couple of sporadic category things that we're going to talk about. Just chopping it up. First, Jack was on the mic sort of live. Tape delay for this time through. But we saw Angel Quintero show up. We talked about him a couple weeks ago about how he's underrated all the way through. And we don't even have him in our top 17. Came out, cleaned everyone's clock. Jack, were you surprised in seeing that kind of response, or that kind of effort out of Angel?
I mean, we know what he's capable of. David Magida mentioned it a couple times. He's the GOAT of Mexican OCR athletes, without question. He's got
Factual?
that. Yeah, factual. And he's got that podium streak for Spartan dating back every single year to 2013, including the COVID year. Like, he's been doing this for over a decade. We've seen him get second at Big Bear, second in Breckenridge. Like, he was the only male athlete who's really come over to the U.S. from Mexico in the past. We see a lot of Canadians come down, but not too many from Mexico make the trip. And he's done that for years at a high level. And so we knew what he was capable of, but he just put on a clinic. And flat and fast, we've always seen him do really well, like I mentioned, at altitude mountain races. Big Bear and Breckenridge, those were going up, really high elevation. This course was in the 5,000 foot range for elevation, and it was flat as a pancake, and he just gave everybody the business.
You must have loved this, Bracken. That's an OG out there.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch, and it's interesting that we haven't seen Angel on this type of thing before. The fastest we've seen a race that he's in was either probably Temecula back in the day, that was a super, or probably Seattle. Also,
he did San Luis Obispo, but he didn't have a great performance there.
Yeah. But in terms of watching him open up, and so most people haven't got to watch him actually open up. We just assume, not we, but people just assume he's a high altitude mountain specialist. But I got to go down there. I raced him in Mexico in a stadium race. And this was when they had their junior track developmental program, 1,500 and steeplechasers come out and race it. And what I got to see was an interesting insight into what he deals with down there. Because these kids are all fast. They're all like 345 to 4 flat, 1,500 meter runners who are like 17 to 19. And then some steeplechase guys who are all under 9. And like they just run out fast. Mm-hmm. And what he does is he just runs with them until they start to fail. And then he just powers away. And I got to see that for the first time. And so what we see on our end is him doing his mountain thing or just joining the pack. But for the little glimpse I could see is he just runs whatever those guys down there run. And so he is super accustomed to getting out fast and real anaerobic. And what we haven't seen until I got to see it that day is that he's actually kind of explosive and fast through obstacles. We don't see it in beast races at altitude because no one's explosive except for maybe Aaron Newell through beast altitude obstacles. But he has that side to him, and the rest of the world got to see that glimpse that everyone in Mexico knows about him. And he looked so good.
He was very assertive right from the jump. There was almost no doubt. And like, this was not a race that was not competitive. I mean, we had Ryland go down there, Manuel Dufour, who's been at every single 3K race getting third at least, and Leon Kofod, who finished third at OCR World Championships 15K, right?
And then you had a couple other Mexican athletes,
Ciro,
Perez,
Eugenio,
the correct way
Camacho.
of saying his name.
Yeah, you're just adding way too much. Eugenio, just adding way too much. You're doing too much, Jack. So it was a really solid race all the way through. And the final results was Angel Quintero, then Eugenio was second, and then Leon ended up third. Ciro was fourth, and I think where did Manuel? And Manuel was back in sixth?
Sixth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Ryland was fifth.
Limped home.
He's not healthy. We saw him. He was in the Tecton X in the 3K in Mammoth. And right away, I was like, what's going on with this guy? Because he's been not in that type of shoe all year. He's been racing in lightweight racers. I believe he's been in the Salomon Pulsar soft grounds, which is as minimal and light as it gets. And to see him in Hoka's for a 3K, something's
They're
happening
plated.
here. And then he wore him again this week, and then afterwards he's pointing to his knee. He just didn't look himself. He was just finishing up the series.
He's got the KT tape on and everything too. I mean, dude's in his 40s, right?
It's 43.
43. In his 40s for sure.
I still think the craziest thing about him is he didn't get his first Spartan podium until 5 years into his career when he was 41 years old. And now he wins a national series across the Atlantic Ocean at the age of 43. Like, he's run age group in the past. It's crazy
for
that
him,
guy's
man.
career arced.
That's a story that, I think we should tell more even, Jack. That's great that you bring that up because he is who a lot of athletes are aspiring to be, especially who come into the sport a little bit later. They've done something in their previous life and just want to be competitive. And Manuel's showing like what you can do when you push your chips all the way in, even in your 40s, man. So congrats to him. That's amazing. Jack had the math work out. So going down there, the series was going to be between him and Rylan had won one race and finished in the teens in another race. And was it your top three scores?
Yes. Rylan had that bad performance he didn't make the semifinals at Palmerton. So I think he was like 30th or something, like a pretty bad score.
No, he was a little higher because he beat me.
He was up above 22, I know.
Was he? Okay.
I think he was like
maybe it was the teens. But
he failed the rig and finished ahead of me, and we started together.
Yeah.
That's what happened, yes.
Yeah.
I'm living with that on my wall.
Looking yoked, though, BK. Don't think you weren't. Them gloves are looking good.
Yeah, we got him on camera for 2 seconds. But anyway, Rylan he didn't go to Palm Beach, so because that was the Go Ruck Games weekend when a lot of athletes chose that instead, I believe.
Smart.
So as a result, he had to win this race mathematically to get enough points to beat Manuel Defoe. And unless Rylan won, Manuel could coast in. And given that he had hitch in his step, he wasn't looking good. I don't think there was a way that he was going to beat Rylan on this type of course, given his current fitness. If you go back a month, I would put some serious money on Manuel just doing really well, podium, maybe even winning with how fast he was on fast ground in Palm Beach. But I think best case scenario worked out for him. He didn't need to push it to the end. And Rylan has had a heck of a past week, traveling like 3 different times overnight, racing the next morning, OCR World's champ, hybrid or Alpha Warrior champ, and like to come here for a third time and perform well, that was just a really tall ask.
So Manu had 3 top threes before this, even
3 exactly threes. So
three threes. So he just needed he went to this race basically to potentially displace Rylan, if anything, because he didn't really. If Rylan won and Manu got second, did that matter?
If he got second, Manu would still have won. But if he got third, his score would not have changed because it's best 3 of 4.
And then Rylan, if Rylan
3.
would have won, he would have passed him. Okay, there was a reason for Manu to go. Okay.
Rylan won, Manu 3, Rylan wins. Rylan won, Manu 2, Manu wins.
Okay, so he either needed to stay in front of Rylan or, he needed to stay in front of Rylan or get second.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Or he needed someone to, like an Angel to fill the gap in between Manu for Rylan
so
to win.
It did make sense for him to go to this. In retrospect, he did not have to go to this, unless they did that stupid thing where, like, what was it? I think that was 19,
Hobie
right?
had to
Where
show up to
or
West
18.
Virginia. Yeah.
You had to show
Atkins
up at
one
the
year.
end. Yeah, like you have to be here. I remember. Yeah, I think Forrest Bowe came all the way out to New Jersey to get like 3rd in the Mountain Series. Like so dumb. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So Manu takes do you have the finishing results off the top of your head for the series, Jack?
For the series, it was Manu, Rylan, and then Tyler Veerman in 3rd.
7 and a 3rd. Okay.
Emmanuel Cioto Camacho in 4th.
Okay. Nice. Angel did not run at the Pan American Championships. I thought we saw Angel earlier this season.
So that
and
Angel
did.
got second there, but that was the Pan Am Championships, not the 3K Elite Series.
Not
so those
part of the
points
series.
did not count.
no, I know that.
Yeah.
And that's why VJ doesn't have he wasn't VJ only has one
VJ
result.
would have 600 points, but he only has 300, because only the Palm Beach race counted towards his win.
So, because I remember at Pan Am, Angel, I don't think we were very impressed with how he was looking fitness-wise. Like, it seemed like there wasn't a lot he could do that day. And that what time of year was that? That was the end of that mid-September? I'm trying to find
6 weeks
results.
ago.
No,
Yeah.
he
Wasn't
he
too long
fired
ago.
out, and VJ just closed it down. Angel faded.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about his strategy and a lot of the athletes from Mexico, like Bracken was mentioning earlier, they just go out so fast. And I expect, because we saw that last year during the first time when the national series went to Mexico, Angel was like the 7th or 8th best athlete from Mexico in that race. Normally he's first, second, third on a bad day. But everyone just went out so hot. It's kind of like Kenyans in the marathon where they just like pack up and just go. And I thought they were going to do the same exact thing because we saw a lot of them fade. Granted, they held on for second and third, Eugenio and Ciro last year. But we saw that in the Pan Am Championship this year. Like they just went out so fast, and VJ was like, "Yep, I'm just going to be a little bit more patient, and then I'll just dust you guys in the second and third laps." And that's what happened. And I figured the same would happen here, but they seemed to be a little bit more patient in the final round.
Yeah.
They were moving great through the obstacles, but they didn't race it like it was 1,000.
Angel didn't move right away, but as soon as he found himself in the lead, he pressed.
So you think it was more of a tactical decision than a fitness thing, or just a little bit more experience?
His barbed wire, he went from 5th to 1st in there. He found like a nice little slot, and granted, 5th place he was like 2 seconds behind at the time.
Yeah, it was really
Rolled
tight.
and they crawled.
Yes, but he went through that so quickly, and he was the first person to the sandbag carry, and as a result, he didn't have to wait 4 or 5 seconds for multiple people to pick up a sandbag. He got a press right away. You saw Rylan, who's a great heavy carrier. You saw Ciro. They had to wait and just be stuck for 5-10 seconds. And Angel just has free reign. He puts a gap, and then Leon pressed really hard on that opening one. I think he might have done a little too much at that time, but overall, like Angel was in control from about 4 minutes in until 19.
I want to talk about the heavy carry structure in Spartan at some point today. You want to hit that now or put a pin in it for later?
Just talk. Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it right now.
All right, so this is now the 3rd time this year where we watched delays at an obstacle. And I don't think we would accept delays on any other obstacle during a 3K race. Like if there was a choke point, the closest we saw to that was that first overwall in Palmerton. But since it was an uphill to get there, it was kind of spread out. But I don't think we would accept a delay anywhere else. But at the carries, we kind of just say, well, you got to get there first, or else you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. I would really like to see them improve it so that it's a line of carries, so that you come up to a spot. And I think the emphasis for getting there first is that the line of carries, instead of coming up and there's a clump, I would make it like this, where the carry starts here and continues on the course, and the carries line like this. So the first person gets to actually run about 10 meters into the course to pick up their carry. And the second, third, fourth, they back up. So the later you get there.
Like the spear.
Yeah, pretty much like that, yeah. Where it's first come, first serve, and the quicker you get there, the shorter your carry technically is.
You still have to run the same net distance, just maybe not all with a weight.
Well, I'm kind of picturing it like you're running up to it and out of it, and the carry's like this, and the line into it is like this. So the first person runs up, grabs it, goes around. The last person comes here, grabs it, comes back around. Or it could be vertical. It doesn't really matter, but I would like there to be stalls for it rather than a clump, because watching people hammer in a clump on the carry is fun, but we don't get to watch much of that because the clump happens at the pickup. And I think it'd be you even saw them, they stacked 2 deep, 2 sets. So 4 tall of sandbags. You could just run up, grab, and go, which is nice, but there were not enough pickup places, and they were all touching each other. So even though there was options for more people, there wasn't width for you to get in there. So I would just like to see a pickup station rather than just like a dumped ground, to keep the race compact and let fitness stretch it out, not bad obstacle.
Who gets there first?
What you can easily do for like a 3K course is just adjust the tape for that pickup area real quick. You know that at most you're going to have like 15 people at a time going for it. So if you just have 15 stacks, everyone's picking it up from the same height, you're just lining them up. Even if you have one, or they're 2 deep, you have 7 on each side, for instance. It's like someone just hops over the bags and then they pick it up on the other side. Now you've got a very easy way of dealing with that.
Yeah, and you could just drop off. If it is the lanes, you have to drop off where you picked up. Yeah. So if you can start it but you finish
You
further
pick
than
up
the last person.
in slot 3, you have to return it to slot 3 type of deal.
So the distance ends up being the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted it the same, then you would keep it that way. If you wanted to gamify it, you do it the opposite. But either way, I want just clean pickup and set down area so that tactics can still be a part of it that aren't just, I have to be the first person there, otherwise I lose 3 seconds.
You guys remember like the mass starts in cross country where like if you're a faster team, you're often going to get like the block in the middle of the field, and then like if you're on the edges, you're like, oh my god, I have to go so hard just to even like get to this funnel at the same time. It sort of feels like that, where it's like if you get if you get there last, you have such a disadvantage to get to that, bottleneck zone or start your carry and just make it a fair obstacle.
One thing that I even noticed with this particular sandbag carry was that Angel got there first. He was able to pick up the bags basically at like his hips. So it was like a high clean and then it's just like you had to reach down lower and lower to pick up the bags, which would make it a little bit more demanding for sure for you to like lean down and like, we're nitpicking, but sports should be about fairness. And, maybe that's not Spartan's deal, Spartan up, whatever, but that's
why
it's
I
not
was
the
saying
same for everyone.
Have the slots where like you just stack 2 on top of each other, and
Totally.
every single one of them is too tall, and now everyone's doing a ground to shoulder clean.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you could put it on a table and let everyone pick up from here, or you could put it on the ground, but same height for everyone, enough width that everyone could be at it, picking up at the same time, and the only cluster you're going to get is as you turn to run out, you have to navigate, which is fine. You have to do that in relays. You have to do that in all other sports. Navigating your terrain, sure, but you should have enough space to just clear your obstacle to your shoulder, in my opinion, if we're going clean and repeatable and controlled, which was the aim of the 3K.
And like you'll hear that even like going into a race, you see the course map and it's like, okay, I believe it was West Palm, right, Jack? There was a carry. Was there a bucket early?
Bucket a minute in.
So it was like, got to get to that bucket fast.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's going to be that choke point and then things are just going to spread out naturally. So like that was a strategy going into that race. Like, okay, here's something to circle. Whereas like, yeah, if it was one lane of monkey bars, we would go nuts. Like, this is so dumb to have to wait for someone to go monkey bars. And like passing someone with a bucket, I mean, it's doable, but like it's not
easy.
It's not that easy.
Especially in a side by side, like 6 foot wide hairpin turn type.
Super
you don't
fast.
have a lot of
No.
This isn't me ripping Spartan anymore. I was just saying I'd like to see that improvement. But
Totally.
But the response we hear is, well, if you want it, get there first.
Right.
I don't think an athlete should have to choose a stupid strategy to do well on the course. I think you could have an aggressive strategy or a relaxed strategy, but neither one should put you into a place where you can't possibly recover and win.
Where you don't
feel like I'm going to let the clump
happen.
happen. Right. And I'll just chill. I'm 20 seconds down now. Or to get there first, I have to run so stupidly fast that I can't possibly hang on. You shouldn't set it up so drastically. Just make it so that strategy matters, but not doing the perfect strategy doesn't end your race 60 seconds in.
The comparison I have is, let's say you're running a marathon and everyone's got their water tables. Imagine if it's like, oh, you have to go and get your drink from like the convenience store off the edge of the street. You can't just grab it off the edge. It's like, it's pretty dumb that you'd have to do that.
That's
or
okay.
they just put them in a clump.
Yeah. You have to stop and like try to sort.
Yeah.
I liked your cross country analogy, Jack. I think that's actually the closest one. If there was a cross country course that like funneled down to single track, then probably those first 400 to 800 is going to have to be less comfortable, and anybody who wants to get there is going to have to use that strategy.
Yeah.
So that's probably the closest real world example, or the water bottle convenience store one too.
Yeah. I was waiting for Brack to have a car one. Yeah.
No analogy.
Okay.
I was just thinking logically this weekend after I watching it, I thought this has got to change. It's just a cluster here. Yeah. I couldn't come up with a reason why it wouldn't make the sport better. I couldn't come up or the make it hard for the race the day before or the day after for the next waves. It just seemed like it's going to be an extra 15 minutes of setup, and that's it.
What are your thoughts on the weights? Again, this is the third time we've seen double carries. It's nice that they're having there, but they're 90-60 instead of 120-80 like we saw at Big Bear. And I think that, I like having the double sandbag, but if you're going to do that, people were complaining about you don't want too much of the course total duration to be on one particular zone and stuff. But did this seem fair? Were they on the carry at an appropriate, duration throughout the course?
I think
Was
what
it
did
too
it do for
flat?
us?
Yeah.
We got a good heavy carry in, and people were still able to attack the whole race, which is, I
Yeah.
think, what we want. In OCR, I've always thought that no one obstacle determines your race. It's what it does to you for the next obstacle and the next obstacle and the next obstacle. And I think the shorter the courses, the more that matters. The less you want to have one huge determining obstacle, and the more you want it to be, what does it do to my overall ability to attack this race, and how do I manage the entire loop 3 times rather than one arduous obstacle and then the rest is just survival. So I liked it. I thought you could run with the carry, which is important, but it was still taxing enough that it cost people something.
In a lot of these previous races, and we talked about on the show, there seemed to be kind of a theme that Spartan wanted to test. Like the first one was a little bit more technical obstacles at West Palm with a bit of a tricky rig, flat. Big Bear was grunt work, heavy carries, the barbed wire crawl at Palmerton. Mexico, I don't really know what they were.
Flat and fast.
Flat and fast. How,
Pavement
that's what I
grind.
was thinking. Was this the similar premise to the Pan American course where it was just flat and fast? Is that what we were trying to test? How high up in altitude was this?
It's like 58, 5,900.
Oh wow, what was Pan Am?
I thought they were like 8,000.
Wasn't that way up?
They're
78
much
or
higher. They're
8,000,
Mexico
yeah.
City, so they're up there.
This felt
What
like
were we testing?
a flat OCR course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just like it was a good mix of everything except vert.
I liked it. I was like, let me get
Yeah,
there.
Rich, you're like,
It was
I wish I was
palatable.
down there. Yeah.
Was palatable. They had that tough mutter obstacle, right? Is
That was
something they had in
cool,
the-
I thought.
You did?
The under
Yeah.
the cage thing. I liked it. It was different.
That changed
Go-
the entire dynamic of what came next.
Then it was
got
like
you
muddy.
wet. You went in the algae pool. It was.
Have you guys ever done that
Yeah.
obstacle at like a tough mutter?
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Unpleasant.
Maybe for you.
Just like water up your nose.
Bracken, I do have one point that you mentioned. You said you liked how the sandbag wasn't the blow you up, just differentiator. That's the only definition of the race. We complain about that so much in High Rocks, where it's like, oh man, those sleds, I was just out the rest of the race. Like that one thing just ruined it. Versus something in Spartan or in Deka, for instance, where you have the air bike. It's your choice if you want to blow up in the air bike, but you will always be able to get off that and attack it if you want to, for instance. And I feel like this is the appropriate amount of, it's going to tax you. You can still keep pushing, though, for these remaining 2 laps afterwards. And I think that's the sign of a good placement there.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's nothing wrong with heavy carries, but I think it matters more the longer the race is.
Yeah.
Short, really heavy. It
Yeah.
just, like you said, it's a huge percentage of the race.
I wish that, and Magida mentioned it as well, for the Atlas carry, like that thing's a joke. That's like bringing groceries in from, your trunk to the kitchen. You need to make that a little bit longer just so it's an awkward holding thing. Like, I don't see the point. It didn't slow anybody down. No one ever gets to differentiate on it. It's not heavy enough to do anything like that. It's just like a quick stop and go thing. I wish they changed that a little bit.
It's hard when that's muddy.
But
That's
it
true.
wasn't. Yeah.
Where it's placed and what you have to do with it. If it's short enough, it doesn't matter where you carry it.
Mm-hmm.
I think carry should be just long enough that technique matters so that you have to choose, is it going to tax me more or am I going to be slower? Like if I just carry it low, I can pick it up, save the time, waddle down and back and be done. Or I could take the extra time to get it to my shoulders and move much faster. But if it's only 30 total meters, it doesn't matter. If you just double that distance, now the grip, like your tactics there matter.
And we saw that tactics can matter on a super short thing. Like what Angel did, what was the length of that barbed wire crawl? 30 feet? And he
Really short.
He went through that like a torpedo. Like it was super impressive because his form was the differentiator right there. His technique and approach to it.
I'm going to say that this was their best short course setup they've put out. And I say that because we got to see people, and it depends on what you want to see out of a short course. If I watch something short, I want to watch fast and explosive. And we got to see people
This
make
is it.
moves. Angel accelerated through a barbed wire crawl. You weren't going to do that in Big Bear. You weren't going to do that in Palmerton. It wasn't available to you. It wasn't even a choice. We got to see people run legitimately fast-looking strides. These were the fastest-looking runs that we've watched in a long time, and it finally looked impressive. We haven't seen OCR look impressive from a speed standpoint in a while, and you got that. But it wasn't so fast that if you were like an obstacle guy, you were out of it. Like Leon's greatly improved his running this year. He's so improved, but he obstacled his way back into it as well and compromise ran. So it wasn't all one thing, but it was fast, and fast is exciting. So I think they nailed the flow of the course as well as they've nailed any course since Palm Beach.
Leon's stringing together a nice little run here. Little North American run. Came over and really elevating his status in, like, that was his first ever OCR WC podium. Right, Jack?
Yes. Solo. He's done plenty of teams, but yeah.
Team stuff doesn't count.
Whoa, Bracken, they count. You know they count.
Yeah, Jack needs to make that point. Yeah. And he thinks you're going to have his back, BK, but turns out...
Hey, we both have that. Rich, you're
I don't believe in it.
Yeah. Rich is the odd man out when it comes to OCR World Co-Ed Sunday, third day of racing podiums.
Man, I got it written on my mirror every day I look at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this one day I'm going to knock this one out.
Yeah.
You're going to run the run leg one year when it's not a mountain and it's like a runnable trail and then technical and then carry.
If it's run up.
No, that's what it was this year. There was it was simply run. People were complaining about it, that it was like just a trail run.
I can run uphill.
Yeah. As well as you can run flat.
I've seen Rich do the mini incline. He can climb.
I can climb. I can't.
Downhill, he loses it all, but like going uphill, yeah.
Lose it all. But uphill, I'm good.
And then it's all like.
I've never seen you on course. Have I?
You just we raced in Minnesota. But that was like before we really knew each other yet. Yeah.
That was young Rich.
I was chasing that mountain series. Ended up fourth.
That was post long tights, long sleeves, but pre living in a place where you run trails.
Yes, I was definitely not running trails that often then. I was doing what I could.
Yeah. Yeah, back to the super impressive run, unless you want to take this, Rich. I was just going to add on Ciro and Eugenio. You saw speed. Like, was it as impressive to you guys as it was to David and I when we were like, holy crap, Ciro's running fast? And then Eugenio, we're used to Leon and Rylan. Like, this is during the transition area, so they've already had a stop from the laser pistol, and then it's just get to the monkey bars. You've got like 150, 200 meters, and they lost 20 meters to Eugenio right there, who's a super fast 800 runner, and you could tell based right there. We're used to Rylan like taking it out. It's like, oh my god, he's such a fast runner, and he is, but you saw real speed here.
Yeah. It rarely transfers on camera, and it transferred. I was impressed with it.
Especially
I looked
OCR.
At and thought, oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't seen people look like VJ or like Woods or like, I don't know, Nicole
Patras.
Miracle very often. These guys looked that part.
Sometimes on the broadcast, they'll be like, these guys are running like 5-minute miles. Ciro might have actually been running like 5:30s, and it looked that fast.
No, I think he was going faster.
He was
than
sub.
that. He was sub.
Go back and rewatch that section. He was running like 440, 445 pace.
No chance.
Oh, I'm on
Taking the over
on this one. Without
I know
question,
you are.
he was.
You guys
So
are,
the next day, here's for comparison. Now, I know it's Spartan with their distances. They're funky, but Angel posted video of him running the 10K trail race. And he ran 35 minutes for it.
35 flat. Yeah.
So
On
we
trail.
don't know what the real distance was, but his stride looked legitimately fast, and he was running a 10K.
him and Yella Hosta can compare their PRs from CrossFit and from
And
Spartan
Ciro
10K.
looks significantly, and Eugenio, I'm not going to say it like that.
Ew.
Do it.
They looked significantly faster than what Angel was running. And
All right.
Angel was running low 5.
And he was
Can
beating that
you
ass.
see this right here? This is Leon Strava, and he lost by 2 minutes, and he's hovering around that like 5:30 pace pretty much all race. So
What are you talking about? There's like 2 lines there. It's like a 5-minute and then a 10-minute. There's no way to like tell. You're just like, look at this graph.
Go ahead. You pull it up.
No.
You got to go on desktop so you can scroll across.
That's true.
All right.
That's what you need.
Strava's got to up their game a little bit.
Yeah,
they're
they're-
upping their price again.
That's what they're upping.
They better have touch scrolling with this new update.
That's the hardest thing. You used to I like on Garmin Connect, you can actually like pinch and hold, and it will tell you your pace when you drag it across the stream. But yeah, it's pretty weak for Strava.
Shit is weak. So looking at the Pan American Championships, VJ beat Angel by about 50 seconds, and Angel won this most recent race by about that margin as well. So now if we project out into World Championships, right, we could expect a VJ Jones. I would imagine Manu's going to be there. You would think Rylan is going to go, and maybe Angel gets out there as well. I'm not sure if they do too much European travel or international travel, I should say, transatlantic.
Eugenio did Trifecta Worlds once.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So maybe that means Angel will. I don't know if that is the same, but what do we think? How does this line us up going into the World Championships? And I guess the question here really is like, what do we make of Rylan? You know, after had not seen him, comes out, smashes, has an amazing weekend. Following weekend, not as amazing. Can we just chalk it up to a little bit too much, too soon, the travel, or where? Like, and how does that look for these championship races?
And I think, first of all, in reverse order, I think the championship just got a whole lot more exciting. If Rylan comes out and smashes, you're like, all right, it's just gonna be Rylan versus VJ, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But now seeing that Angel could be a legit threat, Eugenio could be a legit threat, Defoe's got time to get healthy, could be a legit threat, and that doesn't even take into account the Europeans who we haven't seen over here who could be legitimately good, like Buell and
was Heineck that won the
Heineck
3K?
won the Madrid 3K. Yep.
So there's a lot of intrigue now.
Leon just did it.
Fairness. Yeah, Leon still. Rylan, I think we saw an athlete who's been doing a ton of fitness work in limited running run out of his run power. I think that's what we saw. He lives on such a razor's edge of health that if he can get it even partially together, he's maybe just the favorite again. But can he keep it together is always the question.
Oh boy! Whoa!
I
big
couldn't
bless
find my
you.
mute button in
No
time.
mute button, Bracken. What's going on?
It's
Bless
the
you,
downside
dude.
of the touch. A
It comes in and
physical,
out.
like
Yeah. No, we get it. That's good. Doesn't give you that click
Unprofessional.
that it works. You need a sneeze button that works. That was great. God bless you.
I try.
So
The screen's wet.
yeah, I think you're right. Like the running for the 3K in Mammoth was not the same running that we saw at this race, right?
And it was
Trying to-
3K. This was 5K.
Wait, today?
Cumulative.
Or, no,
Oh, 4K.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
with
4K,
with everything.
It
I
was-
was like,
2.19
holy shit, have I forgot?
miles for this 3K course. So instead of 1.83, 2 point. So you're at it's probably 3,500 total meters.
Plus prelims.
with prelims, you're saying?
Yeah. So
Plus
now,
two warm-ups instead of one.
yep.
Just when you're on limited run volume, every little piece matters.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where instead of like he has the efficiency to get through a 3K. How long was that 3K OCR World Championships? 20.
No, it was like, I thought it was the 4K.
Not even. Oh, it was
But
duration
half was
wise,
descending.
duration wise.
yeah,
Half,
18
and the other
something.
half's climbing, which is like a lot more muscular, right? Our guy
Yeah.
has muscular endurance for sure, but it's like how is
Yep.
his running efficiency without the flat running, without the volume of time on his feet? Like he can do everything else, but maybe this was just these dudes are just fast out here,
This was the one thing he hasn't been able to do a lot of.
right?
And heading
Right.
into Deka World Championships, it's flat, fast running. Like, you think that he needed this, or is he like, oh crap, now I'm exposed a little? I think he's like, well, now I need to work on it a little more, and this is actually probably a good thing for him.
It's a matter of health. Like, yeah, like he's needed to work on it the whole time, but he just like wasn't able to.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't necessarily think that it's a blind spot in his training. I think
Yeah.
it's just like, man, when I can, I will. But making sure he can remain healthy is just been his issue with running since the beginning.
Yeah.
I think he leaves here pretty excited about Deka. Keep in mind, he ran that Deka mile without much running. He's run more since then. And he already had a great mile. So he comes out of here thinking, I just went up against legit runners and held on for a long time. And so I already was good at the mile. Now I'm going to be better at it, and I'm closer to the fit now than I was 6 weeks ago. The downside is he mentioned he felt some pain and dropped out of the race on Saturday.
That's just something you shouldn't start.
I mean, I don't think he has an off button. I'm surprised
like
he's
I'm in
down
Mexico.
there.
Here's a
He's
cool
like,
new
this
venue.
course looks
I want to
sick.
explore.
And then
it was
he did
that or
drop
go
out.
run up mountain.
And I think that that's an appropriate time to drop out, to have that kind of plan and to execute, because you could easily get wrapped up into it and be like, deal with it, whatever. But he did,
Yeah, and
which is great.
He was in top 3 at the time. It's easy to say, well, I'll hang on until I get past. He just called it when he felt it, so
Need that glory, that
good
top
governor.
3 glory.
he's a wild horse. Like, you have to let that type of person run free, and when you start to cage them in a little bit, they're not who they were. And so
Totally.
I give him a pass. He's like Chris.
Yeah.
I give them a pass on most things because we are not the same. And so they can't abide by our rules. But he still does have to find a way to be healthy in December so he can go after several different world titles. Or at least healthy-ish. That's what we always say with him, right? Healthy-ish, and he's nasty.
And he's really good. You know, we saw him healthy-ish for that, 2 or 3 week span from Canada to West Palm.
Yeah.
I forget the course name, with North American Championship up there.
Kelowna.
And yeah, he did things that we did not think were possible, and set a record, won a championship. So when he's right, it's real right. But he's so on the brink of being right,
Yeah.
that it's scary, but also very interesting for
So
what these world championships are going to look like.
Here's another thing for him to consider, and we just saw this: ton of travel, multiple races, back-to-back weekends. So he did two days of racing, and I know physiologically it's not going to fatigue him like most humans, but he did OCR World 3K and then did the Alpha Warrior the next day, same weekend. Week later, he comes here, he runs the 3K. Doesn't have his best performance, has to do a bunch of traveling in between there. He's got Deka World Championships. He's qualified in all 3 events, and then he's going to travel all the way across the world to Abu Dhabi to do the 3K again, with 3 races the previous weekend and international travel and a taped together body essentially. Do you think that he should maybe hold back on one of those Deka races, or just see what happens? Assuming he goes to the Abu Dhabi as well, because I thought he mentioned Trifecta Worlds as well. Like, there's just so much racing on a body that's barely being held up.
He's not normal, so I can't make normal decisions for him.
Built
It's
different.
an interesting case study of he and Atkins, though, because they are similar. You can't judge talent, but let's just say, for argument's sake, they are similarly talented individuals with similar skill sets, and they both share a lifestyle that is their passion, and it mirrors sport, where they're just always doing things that fill their stoke levels. The only differentiator between the two really seems to be Atkins has elite level recoverability, and Ryland seems to be normal person recoverability with very elite level talent and engine.
He's also younger, right? When did Atkins get onto the scene, or when did he start doing these absurd feats of running for 8 hours in training and then coming out and smashing 20-minute races
Right away.
26, 25. That was when
I was
he kinda
about the same
debuted.
age.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just that Ryan Atkins doesn't break down as much.
And he's an ultra run. He runs ultra.
Or Chris, she doesn't either.
Yeah.
Just
Ryland
a
has the
lot.
same pursuits and the same passions. He just doesn't have that ability to stay freakishly healthy. And Atkins has started to deal with them more and more.
Yeah. I think Ryland does have recoverability. He just also has the a little higher injury
Durability,
factor.
maybe.
Durability is probably
because he
the
can do 3 straight days, and not let it compromise him as much. There's no doubt about that.
His volume is not low.
Output is very high.
Yes. Let's move along to the ladies here. So on the women's side, we had Ida Steensgaard take that W 22:38. Chris Rogloski ended up second, 24:04. And I don't have Ali Tippett's results here on the Spartan website because, that they whatever.
If I can't find him,
Doesn't
you
even
can't
matter.
find him. So
Doesn't even matter on the site. But she ended up third, I believe. How far back was she of Chris? I was watching the coverage and then saw Ida just murdering. So I was like, I'm going to not do this anymore.
Oh,
No offense, Jack.
about a minute.
Offense to Magita, though.
Offense taken. Oh, okay. Only to Dave. Yeah.
Only to him.
Yeah.
About a minute.
Yeah.
She didn't
How
get a
did
ton of
this-
screen time.
How did this series end up playing out then?
Well, it was actually very, very interesting for them. So, third
on.
and fourth place, not Ida. Third and fourth place, you had Ali Tippett and Yanka. So Yanka previously had like a 2-4-5 for her places, and I think you had a 2 and a 6 for Ali. And so Ali needed third place in order to end up getting on the podium, but she also needed Yanka to finish outside of the top 4. And since Yanka finished 4th, she kicked out her previous 5th place result and ended up scoring 4 more points in the series and ended up getting 3rd in the series overall. So she barely edged Ali Tippett by 4 points.
That seems to be a byproduct of the participant numbers. There were 4 athletes in the final heat.
That's
And
true.
And I thought you said that as well, Jack. Like, just because Chris even making the final heat meant that she was going to win the championship of the series because there was only 4 people. She could only get 4th.
It stinks because you had good racing this weekend. The depth wasn't there. But the athletes who did show up, it was compelling racing to watch, honestly. But the quantity, it was very high quality, low quantity. That was the disappointing part.
We really only saw truly 2 blowouts this year. Palm Beach was a bit of a blowout on the women's side, and then I would say Palmerton was a bit of a blowout as well.
On the women's end?
Men's as well. I mean, it wasn't a
Kemp's had a good
blowout,
gap.
but it was a
The
Pan
Pan
Americans.
Americans. The Pan Americans were not very close.
That's true.
I think on the women's end
Anything
it was
with
pretty
VJ and
bad.
Nicole, just
Yeah. But we got to see more tight, close finishes in this series than we have probably all the other series combined to date. So we used to have these moments. We had, Rose Wetzel moments or Nick Mask moments. Like we could think of what the tight finishes were.
Mhm.
Now we had to think which races weren't tight finishes this year. So I think from that lens, this was a very successful year in enhancing the competitive feel of the races.
yeah.
Maybe not the competitive field, but the battle for podium spots was very intense.
I agree. If we go one by one during the races, let's just do this exercise before we dive into the women. So at Palm Beach, you had Manuel Defoe giving VJ a run for his money for the first 2 laps, and then he ended up failing an ops. I think it was Z-Wall or something.
VJ
and-
had taken the lead before the failure.
Yeah, but Alvaro also had like a lead change. There was some
Alvaro.
actual back and forth because
And then
Alvaro
2-3
finished
was a
second.
battle all the way through.
Between them. So you did have battles right there. And women, Nicole just dominated. Julie Best kind of had some shockers. You had some a
Sarah
bunch
Rich.
of people falling off the rig. Yep, off the rig, and that made it a little bit dramatic. They had the sandbag carry as a penalty. So you did have some drama there. But then you move on to Big Bear, and that finished between Tyler and Manuel Defoe and Hawk Call closing in like crazy at the end. You had 2 through 4 were about 5 seconds apart, if that.
We had Jack
And
Bauer balancing sandbags like they were
terribly.
They were trying to spin plates. He had one way over on his leg. He was trying to ended up
I
on the
screwed up
ground.
technique. I'll admit that. That
You
was
sure did.
not one of the highlights of the series.
And I'm bringing it up.
But then on the women's side, you had Ali Tippett just crack and then recompose herself and
Amazing.
hold off Ida after Chris had a dominating. But you had a fantastic 2-3 battle there as well. Palmerton.
And on the men's side, Defoe and Veerman, same
Did
thing.
you not listen 20 seconds ago? But yeah.
Nope, you must have cut out in my ears.
You put him to sleep.
Yep.
Spice it up.
Put him to sleep. And then Palmerton, we just talked about that, where Kempson just kind of had a blowout, and you also had Lindsay have a blowout. But the battles behind them were actually pretty compelling throughout the course. This one as well. There actually was good racing, is what I'm getting at.
When I saw the beginning of the final heat of the men's 3K in Mexico just this past weekend, and there was like 5 or 6 dudes all rolling up into the Atlas carrying sandbag at the same time, I was like, this is it. This is what they had promised. This is what they're showing us. And like, yeah, it's just the depth and the buy-in, right? And I think courses like this are going to produce what we want, as opposed to Palmerton, which was just like a bazillion mile barbed wire crawl, not compelling, not very fun. That and then like where the Big Bear blew people out of the water because of that carry, kind of fun but slow, kind of grueling. So I think the format could follow a blueprint like this if we want to see athletes kind of be there and battling. I think they can. I think that they can manage that through the way that they design the courses.
I think we learned 2, maybe 3 things this year. The first is that over if I had a review of the year, it's that it got better. It like there was peaks and valleys, but by the end, it was at its best version of itself, which is what we would want to see. We also saw participation drop, which is what we don't want to see. But then I think we learned here that 1 prelim is better than 2.
Yep.
That second prelim doesn't add to the product, but it keeps people from being able to attack and run as aggressively as they did in this final. So I think that that's a good learning point for Spartan going forward, which is we don't need 2 prelims. And since we don't need it, the first one's not a formality anymore, and it matters. And now there's going to be legit racing in the prelims rather than a couple people going all out to maybe scrape it by 1 round and then a couple people holding back. Real races. And then finally we learned that this might actually be a viable product going forward. But we have to find a way to get people there.
Is it about the money? Is that the reason at the end of the day? Because if you look at the past, just think of San Luis Obispo and Jacksonville and all these other first races of the year. Every single time we're like, oh my God, there are 30 people who could end up in the top 5, like without question. Start of the year, and then the season goes on. People realize they're not in the point series anymore. They have to run a certain amount of races. They're not going to get any money. Do I want to travel to Canada or West Virginia where it's expensive to get to? And you just see participation always drop over the course of the year. And it seemed like the same thing happened, of course, here. But there was a peak in interest. Palmerton and Big Bear, you saw people showing up, and then it was like, head to Mexico again. It's not worth the money.
Money's part of it, but it's more of like the overall prestige and like the vibe amongst the athletes. It used to be there was no question that you were going to travel for the big NBC events because that's where everyone went to test themselves. And this year there was so much skepticism, and we're partially to blame because we were massive. I was one of the biggest skeptics in the world on this thing. Rightfully so. I will still believe that not everyone cared, and the short distance excluded half the people. I still would love to see them do a test weekend here where they do this on Friday and hold a legit super or beast gnarly big race with money on it Saturday and put out a stream for each one and see what the numbers say and what the athletes do. If you had yesterday or this last weekend followed by a mountain beast or a gnarly trail beast the next day, would twice the number of people showed up? Even if it was only 1,000, 750, 500 on day 2, I'd like to see that tested out to see, is there still a version of the old Spartan that will get people to this new version?
I kind of think if something like this is going to succeed, it needs to be done by a company that is not called Spartan. I think a lot of it is the bad will, the poor will that has been built up among the athletes for the past, decade or so. And this year it's been no better across the different platforms that they provide athletes to participate in. It's just the showing how much they care about the athletes is just at an all-time low. And I think that the Friday thing also, BK, you're saying, I think, how would these look on Saturday? If this was like a one-off invitational style, and if we could just have like 2 to 3 big invitationals over 3Ks over the course of the season and have people show up who want to test it and have a big money pot for that, I think that could be viable. But I don't think it's going to be Spartan that's going to do this.
I'm actually on Bracken's side for the most part, and I think that a way that you can make this work, if you want to do this where the course is clear because you're going to have a couple rounds, you can either do the same thing where if you have a 2-hour time block, no one else is running besides these people, and if you get rid of one of those intermediate rounds, you just saved yourself half an hour for the semifinals. But so you could be like, all right, age group, you're going to start at 9:30. That's the earliest ticket sales, or you make the cap like we're only going to have sprints, and it takes people 2 hours for the slowest people on the sprint, for instance. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That's the last time we're selling it. The whole course is clear at 3 o'clock. We move a little tape, and now you can make it work on a Saturday.
Did that leak this week solve this?
What leak?
What?
Didn't we have a leak come out this week?
Jack?
For
For OCR knows.
Deka Ultra.
Yeah. If they're
How did
willing
that-
to do
how did
that,
that
did it
solve
just
it?
solve it for this too? Is that step one? Step two is we're going to make Spartan 3K longer and we'll call it a 21K? Did that just, like, did we just fix all this? We'll put out a 21K 3K next year and we'll put it on the side of a mountain to make it tougher. Did it all get fixed for us? Is that the direction? Are they now going to go long and arduous?
I'm
That's my
confused.
Well, Deka was their thing, right? Deka was we're going to
Yeah.
make it short and fast and palatable, and now their new thing is Deka Ultra. Like that's the exact opposite of what they set out to do.
I don't think that's going to be in every. I think that's going to be like a premier one-time.
True, but
event.
whoever saw this coming, this flies in the face of what they're doing. So now that they've set out to make a short, fast Spartan, is their next offering like let's call it like a beast distance thing they could do? Maybe they just bring it back and they make it the Ultra is going to happen once or twice a year. Maybe they'll do that with Spartan now. Suddenly we have a Spartan World Championship beast distance. That could be a lot of fun.
I sense the sarcasm.
I mean, sarcasm, but it would work.
Yeah.
It would still give them the short course series, but give a couple long, arduous courses. But
Yeah.
I don't know. You could free up enough time to do this on a Saturday, not a Friday.
Yeah, I think the work schedule that just makes it difficult because most people can't. There, you have a limited 2 weeks of vacation time. Most people work an office job, and it's like if I need to get there on Thursday night or flying out Friday morning isn't a good idea for a Friday afternoon race. Like, you could definitely shift the weekend a little bit.
All right, so then I have one question. This is actually a serious question. What have the stats shown us, Jack, in terms of how many people actually belong in the final versus those who register? Could we get away with a prelim and just do a 3K competition on Saturday to cut out the whole prelim? Is there a way, if you were in charge right now, could you just set it? Could you come up with a 15 or 20 person field that all deserves to be there and no one's left out who's not really a factor?
Probably could. Yeah. I mean, you see the occasional failure, but in general, it's like the person who finishes 29th and makes it to round 2, they're not suddenly finishing 3rd to make it to the finals. Like, they might barely squeak by, like if they failed something in the prelims, but you shouldn't even advance if you fail something in a 1,000-meter course, realistically.
Is that a viable option to just make it a final only?
Yeah, like a 3-lap course is very obstacle dense. I think some of our suggestions that we said earlier with the carries where it's not a standstill stopping point, if you can space that out and make it like very repeatable every single time, I think you could do that totally. I do like the lap format. Like, I think it makes compelling racing. It's more obstacle dense, more opportunities for people to make a move and stuff. Like, as you mentioned, I feel like the quality of the courses has improved throughout the year, besides maybe the Palmerton super long barbed wire crawl that a lot of people weren't a fan of, but it has been a good product.
We pause really fast. Are we picking up some feedback? Something happened on my microphone end. Are you guys hearing like a crinkling, BK?
I'm not hearing it, but you want real fuzzy.
I don't know. I'm going to unplug real fast.
I'm not hearing anything from you.
Jack, then I'm going to continue with you. Down that line of reasoning, what is our accepted percent behind leader to qualify yourself as a pro racer?
I would say, pro as in like sole source of income, or like you belong with the top dogs, even if
you
you're
belong
not
in
win.
the pro heat at a televised event.
85%
in a 3K.
So 15% slower than the winner, I would say. Maybe 20 on the women's
15%?
side, just because there isn't a ton. Yeah.
So how many people
if the
fall
winner
within
wins
that of VJ?
If the winner is 7 minutes, you should probably be like 8 minutes at worst.
Yeah. So behind VJ, how many of these people would qualify to be within 15% of his normal average winning performance?
I don't know.
Like, is it
20,
viable that
20, 30 at a normal race? Like if you at a big race where you have all the top dogs there. Yeah.
So at regional events, we could cap it at 20, and at Worlds, you could have a 30-person field and just say, this is a 3K, let's rock.
Seems about right, yeah. And on the women's side, I think you need to expand it a little bit just because Nicole and Lindsay win by such large margins typically that, 80% might be the number. And honestly, like, not everyone's going to do every single race, so maybe doing that 20% might be the thing, but, like, that would still put it at 8.5 minutes for a 7-minute race, for instance. Like you're still a quality athlete at that point, because VJ and Kempson and Nicole, they're shaving seconds every single place possible. So I think that like if you are within a minute and a half of them on any course, a short one for a 1,000-meter loop, like yeah, you deserve to be in there.
Rich, you look good.
Thank you.
Much higher quality.
You're back.
Much higher. I was fuzzy. Now I think that my microphone situation. These microphones are a bit more temperamental, but they sound great.
Is this the second straight week that one of us, actually Bracken and I last week, and then you this week? I don't know the mic cord.
What was me last week?
You were making fun of audio, and then like you got muted or something happened.
Oh, that's user error.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
Jack's
a
also
lock
user
for that.
error too. He doesn't admit it, but it's generally user error.
Yeah, I didn't plug something in properly.
Jack's like that
my internet
student who
cord.
every time comes in, there's an issue why they couldn't get their homework done. And it's never, ever, ever their fault. Eventually, you just have to tell them, listen, you're the common thread here.
Mm-hmm.
You're wrong, because I got my homework done. So it's the difference.
Well, in real life, not in podcast life.
I'm fine owning up.
Jack's scribbling in his
said
note cards.
You could
right
probably
as
watch the
class
YouTube
starts.
videos where I said I accidentally like hit my cord, and that's why it pulled out last week. So definitely owned it on the spot.
Did you use your microphone for the coverage?
Yeah.
Probably sounded
It's
great.
good.
Patreon
Sweet.
paying off in multiple formats.
Thank
Across
you guys.
into
Yep.
other platforms.
Yeah. Magida
That's
needs to. I think he needs to work on his setup a little bit.
He's gotta up his
we're
game.
staring at the sailing a little bit.
Okay. So I want to say something. What this weekend showed me is that tape delay is far and away the preferred viewing format for me. Far and away. For a long time, I just kept sticking to live stream. But the tape delay that catches the whole race is where it's at. Not the Spartan tape delay from old where they would intersperse men, women, and cut out half the race. If you can put it out a few hours or up to 1 day later, you can show the entire race in HD and tell the entire story, and it's fantastic. Especially if you can put it out just a little bit later in the day or the next morning, and you haven't really lost the excitement of the weekend. I think that combined with some version of live streaming, but a different version of live streaming than they were currently doing, it solves every viewing problem in the sport. But this was such a good product to view. And maybe it's because it was an international race, but it didn't feel like I was watching tape delayed because I was able to avoid spoilers. I thought that was just such a preferred way of doing it.
Do you want to know how I know you're not lying, Bracken? Because we spent the first hour of the show talking about the race and haven't mentioned the coverage yet. Or poor quality coverage. I think it's the way to go. Like you mentioned spoilers. Magida and I, we went on don't you dare open social media for the rest of the day. We had no insight whatsoever on this live coverage. Jason said that he just kind of had continuous footage that they recorded on their phone when they were doing rabbits, he and Steve, and we just needed to stall a little bit at a couple times so we could fast forward it in the background during like the in-between rounds. But overall, we were seeing it live and we wouldn't have known a difference. The only difference was that it was fantastic HD quality in the entire time.
Yeah. And I think that this offers the ability to solve some of the problems in OCR currently, which is it's hard to pick out an athlete on screen. First of all, it's HD, so it's easier. Second of all, it's tape delayed, so you can already have show notes written. Orange shorts is Angel this week. Pink sports top is Nikki this week. Like we can go through and have all those things sorted and have it to the commentator so that it is like every other sport where you don't have to wonder. How, you ever heard Al Michaels saying, I can't tell who that is downfield catching
like
that touchdown.
Patrick Mahomes, yeah.
One of you guys message in the live stream, we'll figure it out who that wide receiver is. Like, you don't deal with that in any other sport, and this could solve that.
Yeah, because poor coverage. Like we'll just use OCR World Championships as an example, and or like just to get them both online, or from High Rocks in Vegas, that type of coverage, right? Where it's super. Either there weren't the appropriate amount of people to follow it, or it's just so pixelated and slow that it just doesn't make any sense. That you can't like tie it together. Like I don't know if it's worse for the sport, but I don't think it moves the needle in any real direction. Potentially could be worse.
Yeah.
Than actually beneficial to attract new eyeballs. Like this is what are we doing here? What are we looking at?
Well, like OCR Worlds, I had so much personal excitement for it. And I tuned in and I just got in a worse mood the entire time. The entire time. I was so frustrated. And I'm a part of this production on many of the events. I've been there. I've seen it. I felt it. I've experienced it. I had to work with it. And it was poisoning my well trying to watch it. My friends are putting this on and I was still really angry because I was so passionate about the event. Whereas Spartan, maybe I was a little less passionate about it going in, because it was a little tape delayed and it was a race where I wasn't as excited as the OCR Worlds race. But my passion built throughout the whole coverage because I could watch the whole thing, and it stoked my fire rather than dousing my fire. And I think that's a really important thing to have happen. It got me into the game rather than kept me from watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we have so many times where we're like, if they can only make this change, whether it's about like the series or a rule change, and they're like, oh, we'll implement it next season. It's like OCR Worlds was pretty bad coverage for the 3K, and they had 1 week, and you would never have thought for a second this was the same company since they made the changes. And I think they made the right decision here.
Well, and it sucks for OCR Worlds because they have to wait a year to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, live sports are always going to have a leg up on anything else from a viewing standpoint, just because you literally don't know, right? You are locked into what's going to happen without having any idea of what the results are going to be. So you would
can't
definitely
even
lose
find
that
the
a little
results,
bit.
though.
That's what's good about Spartan. They didn't even like post about it. I couldn't even find the results. I had to like go on, and I was on social media, and I still
have to
didn't
go on
really...
the OCR Reports page and or on their YouTube coverage, and then pause the screen to even get the times, because they have.
Yeah.
It's not even. I have all the the backdoor ways of getting results. They're not listed. Not for
Well, and this could be.
I'll reach out to Patrick. He usually helps me out, but
This could be one of the main benefits to keeping it on a Friday. Is it run it Friday evening and get it turned around and up first thing Saturday morning, and it's not like you've missed the weekend. That would be the thing, and you could keep it quiet for a night. Just tell all the athletes who are involved, listen, don't post about it. Go nuts tomorrow. Let this build your surprise for everyone tomorrow. It could be done. It's a small enough group that is a benefit of a Friday.
Allie Tippett messaged me because she was like, "Oh, where can you see the coverage?" She didn't know that it was going to be on tape delay, and I'm like, "Oh, it'll be on the OCR report." And she's like, "I'm not sure if I'm supposed to mention the results yet." So I didn't even tell her not to mention it, but you can easily have athletes keep it quiet for a day.
Easily.
Well, Allie,
I don't like
trust.
Like, I don't like that. Yeah. Like, I don't like asking athletes not to share something because it
like
is
it.
live.
I get it.
It is
yeah.
live.
But aren't we always talking
It's
about how
sports.
for like the live coverage, we're trying to like attract new viewers and stuff? Do you think people are just randomly up on like Saturday at 7 a.m. like, oh, I wonder what I should do today? Oh, let me Google search live Spartan race. Or are they going there on a random day of the week and they pull up this video? This looks cool.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they see that it's HD from Mexico and they're like, oh, okay, I can actually, search a little bit more on this. I feel like it's the second way.
Well, and you're 100% right. The diehards watch it live. Other people find it down a rabbit hole. But what I think it does is if we know we have this HD coverage happening tomorrow, then I think you give more grace if there is live updates on things. Where day one could be literally me, Jack, or Rich following the whole race with our cell phone running with people. And anytime it comes through, Spartan shows it. And anytime it doesn't, they're just posting like time updates through the first checkpoint here. We might have some coverage here later, but people aren't expecting live TV. They're tuning in for live updates while they do other things in life. I think that if you had a good coverage in HD, you could accept whatever info you could get live because I'm going to get to watch the full game tomorrow. I think there's space for that as well.
So you're saying have a potentially not like lower quality simultaneous 2-hour broadcast and then do it again in an edited version the next day,
Like a watch along.
Or basically like an advanced version of Instagram stories.
But
okay, we're out on course covering Ironman here. Here comes someone. I'm with Chris McCormick here. Here we are. They're coming through. Keep checking the website. We'll keep you updated on splits. Remember, live coverage tonight starts at 8 p.m.
I think as long as it's clips as opposed to the full video, because you don't want the future fans of the sport to like find oh crap, we don't even have an announcer and now we're putting up a delayed graphic on here and it's blurry. Like you don't want to dilute the viewers and just
Right.
have them find that instead. But I think the live thing, the stories that'll disappear in a day anyway, and then it'll force you to watch the real race. That's not a bad idea.
And it's spitballing. I'm not sure that's the way, but this tape delay, if you can optimize tape delay, it might be the best chance to make it palatable. And this is arguing against something I probably said on here a year ago, which is we can't do this. This is so bad. It must be live. But if live can't be done in a way that actually helps our sport, then you have to choose the next best thing, but do it the best way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like two different purposes, right? And you guys have both touched on it. It's if you go live, it's for the people who are already here to help them continue to be interested. It's for us, right? Like
Yes.
we'll watch it live. I would be happy to watch clips so I can like understand what's going on, what's happening.
Yeah.
So I know that moment because I'm looking forward to it. It's something that I want to like know. Where the other side is attracting new people, right? And like which one is more important at this point in time for OCR? I mean, I don't know. OCR, who knows? But it should be trying to get new athletes, new eyeballs onto the sport, right? If we care about the sports side.
Just think of CrossFit Games. There are often times where it's like, oh, we're going to have events at 9 a.m. through 7 p.m. today, like a real long day. And not everyone's watching every single event, but you can go back and rewatch on tape delay. Yeah, I know you are, Rich, but you're like the hardcore fans. But there are plenty of people who are like, I'm going to watch them in their entirety, but it's going to be 6 hours from now when I have a break in my day, and I'll still watch everything. And I think that is what tape delay is. It works in other fringe sports, hybrid fitness type sports. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. If you can nail it consistently, that's going to do more positive in the long run, in my opinion.
Well, and Hunter talked to me when I went on his podcast about a month ago. He asked me what I am going to commit to do to help grow our sport in the next year.
What'd you say?
I said I don't have a great answer.
You said nothing? I'm not doing
not
shit.
A media guy.
Like
I'm not throwing money at it. I think my sarcastic but serious answer was I'm going to do my best to make sure that everyone who wants to can show up to a course ready to run well. Like just listen to the Running Public,
coaching.
follow our training plan, coach if you want it.
Did you plug
if not,
Race
just
Brain?
listen.
You didn't plug Race Brain.
Nah, Race Brain doesn't help anyone.
Whoa.
Goodness gracious.
Don't say that to Chris Rogloski. She listens
Training
to it
wise,
religiously.
do we give any training advice here?
Shoes. 2 weeks
If you're
ago.
already
about
running,
shoes.
we will get you through your runs.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get you through your runs.
Anyway,
But-
but maybe our thing is one of our consistent speed bumps we've hit this year in the sport, and I think since COVID really, is a lack of rabbits. We just, even for OCR World Championships, they were putting out posts the night before trying to find rabbits for day 2. And if you're committing to maybe this post-production where it just relies upon the rabbits more than the signal, because the rabbits don't need signal, they're just recording natively. Maybe you just have someone like, I'll say, like, if you need a rabbit, I will rabbit any race you want.
In the greater Milwaukee area.
No, like I'll fly out wherever. Just like get me out there, and because one of the comments on the live stream was that someone's like, stop complaining about not being able to keep up with these people, because the OCR World Championship rabbits gave up after like 200 meters. Someone's like, it would need a John Albin to run with these guys the whole time. Like, no, only if the rabbit had to complete the obstacles. You just need someone to run like 400 to 800 meters at a time and rest for 15 seconds. Any one of us 3 could stay up for the whole race. Certainly on the women's side.
Yeah.
If one of the guys, like if Veerman's on one, we may not be able to climb with him.
Right.
But we could stay for most of it.
What you do in those cases is you're like, I'm going to cover pack number 2 for a little while, and then whenever there's a hairpin turn, I'm going to cut it off a little early so that I can catch my breath
have 2
and then
guys.
hang with them. Yeah.
But anyways, like the 3 of us could cover any world championship event in OCR.
I love rabbiting. Yeah.
So maybe I'll speak for Jack and I. I don't know. Rich is hard to get a hold of these
Rich
weekends.
is always
but
busy. It's
Busy.
ridiculous.
I will rabbit.
Doing things.
Because I'm now to the point where I feel like, not that I'm the best commentator on the planet, because I'm obviously not, but the rabbiting
top
matters more than the commentating. Because you can turn the volume off and love the event if the event looks good. But if the event looks crappy, all you have is commentators who you're going to get mad at because they're not showing you what you came here to see. So, like,
it's not
sacrifice
their
the
fault that
commentate.
they're seeing the same stuff.
Right.
Right.
So anyways,
but
if
I
you need a
agree.
rabbit, I'll rabbit your event.
Holla at your boy.
Same here.
I agree. I think that you're right, BK, on that. Like the commentator does matter to a certain extent, but I've always been in that boat, like watching any sport. Where sometimes people get frustrated by the commentators. Like, I'm watching the sport. I'm watching what's happening. I can still figure out. The end result of this game doesn't. Like, I'm never gonna be thinking about who the commentator was, like, ever.
I think in our sport, there is a difference in commentating, though. Like, some people are like, "Oh, that's a tall wall," and other people, like, they've been with the athletes, like you and Magida. You've physically run side by side against like a lot of these people.
Well,
I know,
there's definitely better, but like a good commentating duo versus a bad one with good coverage versus a good like OCR World Champs last year. That's the perfect example.
There you go.
Let's see who has better numbers. I wonder who has better numbers at this point.
We already know. We know. Yeah.
But the thing is that if you're tape delaying, you don't have to pick between the two.
Right.
Like the three of us could rabbit your races. One covers the entire women's race. The other two shuttle the whole men's. And then we grab our power lift. We head to the trailer. And we do the commentary for the race we just watched. And okay, we know what the race happened. Who cares? We don't talk about predictions. We don't talk about like, oh, this person looks good. I wonder if. We just break down the action for the novice who's watching. I think that's best of both cases, best of both worlds, is we get the whole thing covered because we really do need rabbits that can run the whole time. Not that we're the only three options, but if they need options, like bring us out. We'll do it.
Let's make it happen.
At that point, it's also like you don't need to ask the rabbit with your last idea right there, Bracken. You don't need to be like, oh, I wonder if it's rocky or if it's wet over there. Like, you physically.
We can have our little headphones in, chatting, making notes the whole time. So during the coverage, we can shift to people talking about it. You're not going to have to ask the rabbit to look at the obstacle or show the gap from first to second because we're showing
What's wrong with that?
what we would want to see.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Yeah. I like this idea. Let's make it happen. Let's
get Rich involved also.
Race brain rabbits.
Race brain rabbits.
Rich can run with anyone.
Yeah.
I'll put him in the dirt.
He can. Yeah, Rich is covering the men's field.
Rich could have run with the entire 3K. Yeah. It wouldn't take John Albin because Rich doesn't have to do the obstacles.
I'm going up. Yeah. I'm not doing the obstacles. I'll
get a head start
going down.
I'll just wait for the way down. Rich can run up, and then we'll tag off.
Let's pick a place to do this. Let's pilot this program.
Let's do it all.
Yeah.
We'll get some
every major championship. Let's do it.
Yeah.
If we're wanted. If we're not wanted, that's okay. I understand the fact that I'm not everyone's taste. That's okay.
We can do whatever we want. Right? Like like work it. So
but that's the thing. Like I've commentated Savage. I've commentated High Rocks. I've announced for OCR World Championships, for Spartan Race. Like I've done all of these anyway. Might as well continue doing it, but in a better format.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a John Albin rabbit. Like Steve Hammond, Jason Dupree, the two of them, they're not Angel Quintero speed, but they still put out a really good product the entire time. And then they had to double back for the women's race and keep up. Like, you can totally do it as long as you have committed rabbits, for sure.
Get the Wisconsin Albin.
Marcus Wallace. His name is Marcus Wallace.
Yeah, we know it. Let's talk a little bit more about. Let's go back to the women's race because we kind of glossed over it a little bit when we got on a side tangent there. What do you guys think of Ida's performance?
She's leveled up.
Seriously, like we saw her run away from Chris in a Savage race in the beginning of last year, right? And since that time, Chris has leveled up considerably. 3K. I mean, you can't say anything is outside of Chris's realm.
She has an OCR World 3K podium before.
Which one?
She beat Ida last time in the 3K.
Yeah.
At Big Bear.
Oh, Big Bear. Yeah.
Yeah.
At Big Bear. I mean, if there was a course, but she beat her by a lot.
And she's more acclimated than Ida is.
You would think. I mean, Ida's been in the area for a minute, right?
Ida's been about, she is acclimated at that point.
You know what? I am it is not you, but I'm just tired of people saying they've been up there for 2 or 3 weeks or a month. We've all lived at altitude.
The worst time.
9 months. 9 months.
It took me about a month and a half. I would to like get used to to get used to it.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah,
Yeah, you can get used to it.
I think the worst was about 3 to 4 weeks in. I was like, oh, I've so got this. I can go back to my sea level paces. Oops, that was a mistake. So
I got way less of it. I was just missing every single workout I did for like 6 months.
People confuse altitude training camps with getting ready for altitude. You get the benefit from going for 3 weeks at altitude when you come back down to sea level, yes. But you don't get significantly better at handling altitude. You're better than when you got up there.
Yeah.
But not significantly better. You're just more used to it. So Ida was not altitude acclimated. She was acclimatizing, but it is a long journey. I don't want to hear it.
At least you get the feel of it, right? I think that's the main thing.
The
Feeling
feel,
how much
yes.
it's going to suck. Your RPE can be a little bit
you can adjust your
adjusted.
expectations on pace.
Yeah. That's the main thing.
That's helpful.
That is
It doesn't
helpful.
make your blood that much better.
Sure don't. Sure don't.
Yep. But no,
So, I mean-
Ida, her flat running, like, it was powerful. It was fast. We've seen her do well on mountains. We've seen her do well on flat in the past. But there was zero elevation change in this course. And I don't, like, even if Nicole was there, and I'm sure Nicole's actually probably kicking herself for not showing up to this one with how she loves the flat, fast stuff. I think Ida was a force that day.
Ida has wins over Nicole this year and Chris. She just needs to take out Lindsay someplace.
Ida's
Yeah,
going
we're
to be in Abu
talking-
Dhabi.
Ida showed me the one thing I've never seen her do, which is just look like a fast runner. She's complete. And Ida, if you're listening, I want to be very clear with what I mean about that. You're a good runner, but your races that you do well on seem to just materialize throughout the race. You're doing great on obstacles. You're making up time here or there. I've never watched your race and thought she's the best runner in the field from the start at a championship level. But this was a championship event, and you looked like a different class of runner than people in the field. And that is just, it speaks to your evolution as an athlete. I've loved seeing it. We've seen her run fast, but she's never looked like I pop off the ground, fastest runner here. It's like an OCR athlete who's running fast. She just looked like a runner. And then she looked like an OCR athlete when she touched the obstacles. And that's like the best possible thing you can be as a runner in our sport.
Agreed. Yep. And
Yeah, I think
she
that's
was
fair.
like that off the gun. It wasn't like everyone had
Right.
fatigue in their legs at that point. This is step one. She
She
asserted
knew what she had
herself.
to do.
And maybe this is because we usually see her on sloppy courses.
Maybe.
This was clean and she ran different, but she wasn't like fast running. She was popping off the ground. That was new for me to see.
We got to start thinking about our Okra nominations here. And, you know, she's going to be up there for the Hobie Call Award.
And Leon's going to be up there for most improved.
Yeah, I would think that that's fair. Breakout.
Sure.
Even sells short his season. Because most improved you could go from the worst person to the halfway through the field. That's not his season. He went from a fringe contender to just on every podium.
Being on the podium.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what's crazy? I'm looking at Ida's career as a Spartan racer, not OCR Worlds, but she's done more than half of her races for Spartan Race in the United States over her career. She double won SoCal 2020. She had 2 wins, 2022 in Jacksonville, and then, you know, this one in Mexico. Like she races well when she travels. So heading into Abu Dhabi, I would be very confident if I was her.
Who can we expect to be on the women's side?
Probably Chris. Nicole already
Nicole.
committed.
Nicole's going.
Yep.
assume
Yanka. I mean,
Yanka.
she's been doing it. She's dealing with a knee injury as well. You saw it taped up, and she had a hitch in her step,
She
unfortunately.
looked
But
rough in that final.
yeah, she was sitting on the ground before they even started. Like, I think she didn't want to put any pressure on her body at that point. But yeah, I think you'll see them and a lot of Europeans. Karen Carlson, we saw her. Zuzana, actually. So I had this wrong. Zuzana, she got 4th place in the finals, but she won both of the prelims. She failed something in the finals. So she's raced in the Middle East several times. So could see her showing up. Esther, she traveled
Alyssa
last
Petrova.
year. She
you
lives
imagine.
in there. I think the women's race can be compelling, and that if Lindsay goes, she's already going to Trifecta Worlds like a month before. So who knows how much she wants to travel, or if she even likes this 3K format. But $20,000 on the line, I might be getting up myself on a plane. Allie
You?
Tippett, what? She might consider it.
I would think that she should consider it.
2 podiums against some pretty stiff competition, even if it wasn't as deep. The top was very good, and she beat Ida before. She has
Who knows what that
2
course is going to
podiums.
be? Who knows what they're going to throw that
That's-
course at you?
We've officially entered that territory, that part of the year where if I'm preparing for this, I am going crazy trying to find out exact information on what are we talking about for sand here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of sand out there. We've even seen it at Worlds, different types of sand. Which one are we talking? Are we preparing for ankle deep dune sand? Are we preparing for 1,000-foot dune bear crawl? Are we talking just running on hard packed sand? Like, this could be a Palmerton course. This could be a Palm Beach course. This could be somewhere in between. What are we talking about? Because it will totally favor different athletes.
Big time.
And
They should throw that
end of
dune
the
in there.
day-
Dune bear crawl for sure.
Yeah.
If it's
end of the
thick
day-
sand, Lindsay's going to win by 10 minutes. If it's hard packed sand, I'm not saying she's going to, but she could miss the podium. She won't.
yeah, leave her. Don't draft her.
You just have no clue.
Yeah. I think the bottom line is they're going to find a way to make this course 6:30 to 7:30 for the men and 8 flat to 9 flat for the women for each lap, basically, or for the thousands.
Will they?
And that's what basically every single course this whole season has been for the fastest. And then, yeah, it was like high 20s for Big Bear, 27:44 Ida got for third place in Palmer. So you're looking at like mid to high 20s for the women for the 3K round and low to mid 20s for the men for the 3K round. So just keep those in mind and get some gators.
Maybe.
I'd rather have them than not have them.
You're going to have to bring 2 kits along.
Probably.
sure.
So what do we have, like 7 weeks? Is that what we're looking like? Until
It's
Worlds?
it's the week after Deka Worlds. So you have 3 more in October, 4 November.
Yeah.
8 weeks,
December 8th, 9th. Yeah. Okay. And that'll be the next real... And when's Trifecta?
11/11 that weekend. So
Okay.
It's
about
the
a-
weekend. It shares a weekend with Jack and I doing doubles.
yeah.
Unfortunately for Trifecta.
I was gonna say they're not gonna get much coverage because everybody's gonna be looking at us.
We're gonna do our first ever post production of you guys doing doubles. You guys are gonna be carrying gimbals, handing
Yeah.
them to each other, so we get
Mhm.
double
Selfie mode the
double
whole
shots.
time. Just,
and I'll be
yeah.
on the outside also.
On that note,
Watching.
we need some gear. We need an outfit.
That's BK.
I know,
got
Bracket. We're running out of time.
BK turned it around in like 2.5 days last time.
Okay.
Big Tim Lambiris hooked us up. At worst case scenario, we go body paint.
Pink body paint.
And that's worst case scenario.
Yeah, yeah. So it's likely gonna be better than that, is what you're saying. So
All right, we're gonna
Depends
adjust,
who you are.
we're gonna transition into. I want to talk about that Deka thing. We touched on it for like 1 second, but I think that's fun.
Okay.
I've been playing around in the Nitro Deviate Elite 2s. Puma Nitro Deviate Elite 2s. What's the cap for words on a shoe?
say
That's
it
5
again. Let's go syllables, not words. I think that's the bigger issue.
No words.
syllables.
So
How many
what
words
if it was
is-
the Under Armour instead of the Puma? Like adding 2 extra syllables isn't going to make a difference. It sounds even longer.
I would say the exact opposite.
Okay.
Under
How many
Armour and
words?
Nike, it's just it's like saying doctor or sir. It doesn't
Okay.
change.
All right. Say it again, Rich.
Puma Nitro Deviate Elite 2s.
Wow. Okay.
On my feet.
Double digits. Yep.
They feel great underfoot, BK. They don't give you the best pop like a real super shoe would, but at its price point, it's like $200, right? So it's not like a crazy expensive super shoe where you would expect that. I don't know if that bottom's gonna work.
Yeah.
It's
It's
the rubber's
too
a little.
plasticky, too hard.
It's too hard. It's too hard. But it feels really good. I mean, I run on the street. I run on the track. The upper is great. The fit is right. I just don't know. I just don't think it's going to work. I think it's kind of like an expensive trainer at this point for me, which I don't love, you know. But I'm going to bring them to
where?
Chicago,
Chicago?
and I'm going to see.
Oh, I thought you were doing Dallas, not Chicago.
I'm doing both.
Both.
If there's a High Rocks, I'll be there, hoping for
What
a
size shoe are you?
mismeasured course. 11.
I was
A
gonna say you should try
little bit too big for you.
my Metaspeed Skies, but they're 10.5.
You're about those. You're about those. And I saw some people slipping in these Pumas on some international courses. That ain't what we're doing here. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. So I would wait on that shoe there.
Bracken, we still don't have a start time. I messaged them for doubles. Do you think it's going to be
early in the morning?
8 a.m. likely? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
every
consistent.
doubles I've done in Chicago has been you're the first.
Men's doubles is the first of the day. And then they put women's pro right after so they don't have to change the weights.
Yep. Cool.
And then just later. Let's talk about some Deka. Ultra Deka. BK, you got something else?
Nah.
I thought you had something.
We should. It was going to be shoes, and we should close that door.
No, we don't. Yeah, that was enough. We got like 90 seconds each episode.
I'm saying it anyway. There's a ton of super shoes in Mexico.
Oh yeah.
By the
notice that? I could see the Pumas being good for a surface. I was thinking that for that you asked a very specific super shoe question about like a trail.
Yep.
I think these would work for something like that.
Didn't you say that Angel didn't used to run in trail shoes, even on like at Breckenridge and stuff?
Yeah,
like, he'd just be running in regular trainers.
Yeah. So this was nothing new
for
for him.
Road racing,
right?
Yeah. He's wore Adidas SL20s, the RCs, the Adios. He's worn those for years.
So as always, we are not reporting on the Deka Ultra, but there seemed to be like this is like maybe happening, right? There's like an email that went out
in the rule book, and it got sent out.
Book.
Yeah,
people saw it. There was a post or two made. Nothing official though, right? It wasn't like on the Deka's page, on Spartan's page, like brand new announcement, 25K Deka, so 5 Deka fits, back to back to back to back. We made this happen.
Did you get credit?
We talked about it.
No, yeah, I'm gonna fight for it though.
Presented by Race Brain. Presented by
Rich.
Rich.
I'm gonna try to get some of this credit
from the minds of Race Brain.
So
what do we think? What did we call ours? Did we have a name for ours? Our Ultra
best race ever.
I don't know what we called it. Someone's gonna have to tell us.
I thought it was just like the hybrid Ultra, something like that. Just simple.
Potentially.
Yeah. Sounds lame.
Yeah, we'll get tech support on it to listen. But
this is worse in terms of pacing and doing it. Just 5 Dekas in a row would suck more than 6 hours of Deka.
How long is it? How long will 5 Dekas take? You think you slow the pace down? Would you just say 5 hours? Like,
say 45
for like the best men.
Yeah,
I think some people are going to be pushing 3 flat
for over 25K.
So if it's 3:45, that would be 45 minutes in a row. If it's 36 minutes, that's 3 hours flat. I think you can see some people running 7 flat pace and doing like a 15 to 16 minute Deka strong, 5 in a row.
That's like 15 to 16. That's where I would really slow down. I think the 7-minute pace is appropriate. I think you're right on that.
Yeah.
But I think you had to give something like, what do you just do? I think actually...
You get 40s, 35, 40.
Yeah, you hold 2 minutes on the machines.
Yeah, I'm saying the high end. I think 3 flat is going to be about right where you see the men. Women, 40 times 325, 320. That's going to be a good time.
I think are there going to be money behind this? Like, what are we doing? Are we, like, do we Deka dog this thing?
They'll probably just pay for your Rabdo fees.
Rabdo fees?
I don't think Rabdo could be a... Where's like the Rabdo threat
It'd
here?
be High Rocks.
24 hour. Oh, yeah.
24 of High Rocks would get you Rabdo.
Yeah.
That could potentially give you Rabdo, just with all the lunges and the wall balls.
Just High Rocks the Ocho, you have to do it 8 times. Just that would not
your
be
lower
good.
back would go out with all the pulls, wall balls, rowing.
It's the wall balls.
You'd have to do open weight. You have to do open weight, I would imagine, for a...
Go ruck or go home.
That's probably what they do. They're going to slap a Go Ruck.
I'm ready.
I wouldn't doubt if this Deka Ultra turns into the Go Ruck Deka Ultra because, Go Ruck has to have their hands in on literally everything. So
it's too bad it's not an Ultra.
Right.
But
it's time to
is that word just being thrown around because we're used to like 50K plus on the roads or 6 hours on the trip. Like that's kind of your
Anything
threshold.
longer than a marathon is ultra.
But so if it's a 3 hour, I'm presuming most of the top contenders on the men's side are going to be running faster than 3 hours, and most
It's
of
not
the
time
women.
domain. It's short for ultra marathon. So short.
I'm aware.
So longer than 26.2.
So you're telling me 5 Deka Strongs wouldn't make up the difference for the time domain?
Time domain doesn't enter the equation.
So you don't think it should be called ultra?
No, it have to be at least a 27-mile event.
What,
I think
okay,
50K
so what
is the entry level.
if you did 12 straight hours of Deka Strong, no running involved? Is that an ultra because you're just going nonstop?
If you hit over 26.2 miles, yeah.
Well, I'm saying Deka Strong.
If you add up all the
Does the word
the
ultra
meters
just
of
represent
the-
it's a long event? That's what I'm getting
Well,
at.
It depends, because there's Michelob Ultra.
that is true.
Oh, that's
And
what
you're
I was
allowed to
getting
have
at.
that after
Yeah.
a 5K or a trail run.
Whenever
Yeah.
you want. Whenever you want that.
Maybe
Are they
that'll be
saying
the
ultra
fuel.
on this Deka event?
I thought it said it. HFM, they posted something on it, and there were a lot of comments. Most of them are actually pretty positive overall.
There's
so I
nothing to
think
be really that negative. I mean, the thing to be negative about is like, okay, let's take care of what we need to take care of first
Yep.
before we go ahead and expand. We're like this rapid expansion that we're having all the time. It's like, pay the affiliates, pay your athletes. Don't put on a big stupid event that only like a couple people are really going to care about. That would be the argument. Because, but other than that, it's like fun and kind of cool. But like you could like if I was an affiliate owner, I'd be like, yeah, how much does that cost? How much of my money are you using to put on that event?
Has Megita's affiliate gym been paid yet?
I don't think any.
No.
I don't know if any.
He said this week he hasn't. So you can't use him to commentate.
He's
You
out.
can't ask people you haven't paid to go support them on another thing. I don't know. It's tough. Maybe he'll put it in a shipping container in the dark honor system if you complete or not.
I like it. I think that's smart.
Yeah.
Jack, what you
I
got?
do like the idea of
Oh,
hybrid ultra though.
I was just going to read the response. It says exact date, location, details coming soon. This event is going to be an epic day celebrating fitness. So we don't have like the details, but this right here, Rich, you know who that guy is?
Oh man,
Oh,
is that my
man.
likeness?
NIL, name, image, likeness.
Is that my likeness right there?
Yeah.
All right. You each get one guess. Who was the first person to send that to me?
Nick Riker.
Send it to you.
Nick Riker.
Negatory.
That's a good guess.
Dylan
Jeff
Scott.
Barton. Definitely Jeff.
Bubbles.
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 Okay. He loves
he-
ultras. Yeah.
He'll
Didn't
do
we say?
he'll do any Deka event too. So he's
He runs ultras.
he does run ultras, and the running will slow
does it
things
well.
down.
Yeah.
Maybe this
Now,
is his event. Maybe he's
He'll
finally
be
like,
one of
okay,
those guys
great.
he's still churning out 70 RPMs on the assault bike 5 laps deep. Like he'll be doing that. Who does this favor?
I wonder how
Like,
hard this is going to be. Yeah, how hard is this going to be?
It's a Deka
without
tempo.
even knowing the
Yeah.
details besides that this post claims 25 kilometers, so 15 and a half miles, 50 zones, pit zone, 2 crew allowed. That's kind of cool. I think it's going to be advantageous just to only use
All right.
that for fuel.
There's 3 of us,
We're
Yeah.
about.
and now we got 2 people. We got 2 will be the crew. One's going to do it.
You know what I think we should do?
Yeah.
I think we're due for a meetup weekend. I think we should do this in Colorado together.
Oh, just do it.
just to do it.
Do a workout. Yeah.
Do a
like
50
at Kent's Garage or something.
Do a 25K Deka.
Yeah.
We'll simulate
I think
this.
we should be the first people to do it, set a time, and just like feel out the logistics so we can speak on it.
I set the Kmart time for Deka Fit, so
That's
it's
True.
fine doing another
So we'll
one.
crew Jack.
Yeah,
I got all the
I don't
stuff
know
here.
about that.
I need a couple Rams.
Rich and
Yeah,
I will
some
day drink
Rams around.
and crew Jack.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the pit crew is going to be really helpful for counting laps because people are going to be like, I have no idea what number I'm on. Like,
Tell you
go
what
to
I'm
zone
bringing
6
is knee
now.
pads.
For just the lunges.
Yep.
I mean, they put it over a big pad. It's only 30.
It's not a big pad. that
Maybe
thing's, like,
squat sleeves then.
very thin. Yeah,
Squat sleeves.
Yeah.
but
You
then
gonna
you
wear
have to
what?
run with them.
You're gonna wear a weight belt. Can never know with those farmers.
I'm getting
Hydration
some,
belt for sure.
some Velcro ones that you can you'd wear on a Huffy bike when you're like 8 years old. Get those
My
type
pit
of
crew
knee
is
pads.
going to be just in charge of drying my one pair of receiver gloves and handing me my fresh ones.
So much grip. is
Ripping
needed.
open a new receiver glove for you each time.
But yeah,
All right.
if we had to do favorites at this point, like who does this appeal to? Who's going to do well? Like on the women's side, naturally Chris Rogloski, but I think Lauren is going to be dangerous.
Oh,
Meg,
yeah.
obviously, like
Katie Knight.
Katie Knight would be good.
Yep.
Meg, I don't know. Meg, this is a long.
I know it's
distance
a
for
long
Meg.
event. You're
It's a
right.
long- I've never seen Meg do anything over a high rocks. I know she's never done a full. She's done some halves, but that seems to be like an
Okay.
area that's like so for her.
So she could be like VJ in the early days, where it's like I just don't touch this stuff if it's over an hour.
Yeah, shit is dumb.
Okay.
I think that Chris Katie battle again.
Again.
I think
run
Katie
it
Knight
back.
is a good one for this.
What about Lauren? You're discounting her?
Dude, she'd smash. She'd just do the first one. She'd do the first her
She'd
first
go out at, like,
Deka
4
in like
flat pace.
in like 34 minutes and just like keep pushing
She'd run
through.
a top 5 time, and then 10 time, and then 15, and then just sit right there.
Yeah, you don't want to let her bait you to come out. You could probably do this like at a fairly high effort level. You know, this isn't going to be like, I think about ultras sometimes, and these people become super efficient at like a shuffle, right? So you kind of have to be out there shuffling along, and I don't know if you'll have to shuffle for this.
The only thing I've done that I can equate to this is when I did that 6-hour Tennessee mile, where it was a 1.1 mile loop with like 400 feet of vert. It was just 2 steep ups, steep
So
downs,
steep.
and you repeated it. It was like 10 and a half, 11-minute loops. And you never did anything for longer than like 2 minutes. And I worked probably like 4 hours of the descents. Like I cruised for 2 hours, and the last 4 I worked the descents hard. And then I'd recover on the up, run like aerobic threshold on the flats, and then hammer the next descent. Like in a regular ultra, I couldn't have run the descents like that but you're getting enough of a break that I think you could do a similar to this. You just pick the things you're not going to hammer and pick things that I'm going to work moderately hard almost every single time I touch them. And I'm
See,
just
I'm
going to
thinking
cruise the farmers,
Yeah.
run aerobic threshold, and then just work my machines all day long.
I think
Don't-
Rich's strategy, if you're like doing 140, low 140s on the machines, just high
Just
one,
murder
high
them?
150s too flat. Just get through it. Don't let it kill you,
flat.
and then
Too flat, yeah.
Yeah, I think you could hold 55s for a couple hours,
55 is what?
like 155s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You could just sit in that spot for a lot of people at because you're only doing, it's not high rocks. You know, high rocks would be a totally different animal.
Yeah.
Dylan obviously is in the
I was
talks.
just gonna say, got to talk about Dylan. Grady Jackson had something to say about that on
yeah.
that post. He would be a
Ryland.
good one.
Could see him sneaking in there and just be willing to do it.
So much running, man.
How about Ryan Atkins? Coming down from Canada.
Why not?
I like it. Love to see him on. I think he's ever touched a ski erg. He would just be like,
He did
Seb
during
Conrad.
the Spartan games. Oh yeah.
oh yeah, he would be good for sure. Yeah, are there any other ultra OCR
Who
all the
leans
OCR
towards
peeps?
that?
I
Who do
bet
you
like
see
a
in High
Josh
Rocks?
Reed could do well.
Josh would do great because he knows how to do these machines. That's a good one. Josh would
Yeah.
Josh would
Pick.
actually crush this. That's a really good one.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Kevin Gregory, as we mentioned,
Gotta throw bubbles
not
out there.
joking. Yep.
Gotta throw bubbles out there. Yeah, I don't think Kent would be very interested. I'm not that interested. I don't think like a VJ
What
would
would
be that
the
interested.
prize money need to be, assuming there is some for you to take part in this?
For me,
Yeah.
I think five G's. I could be like, all right. So like within what they would do, but they're not going to do that. But I could wrap my head around something like that. 5.
Yeah.
I would consider doing this.
Just
Okay.
period.
You're back.
Yeah, I can't get
Bracket's
ultras out of my
back.
mind.
Brackett's
just,
doing
like,
a Deka,
sitting
like you
there.
said, for 2 years in a row. This is awesome.
I did a Deka this year.
Yeah.
He's going to do just 5 in a row.
I did
to
a
make up
Deka
for all the
strong
time.
in January, and you can't take that from me, Jack.
Brackett's
true.
never gonna have a Deka mile
Deka
or a
sim.
Deka fit, but he'll have the ultra Deka fit. Like you'll just never have those two.
Don't say
bars.
never. The things that I actually want to be good at, I will not show up for until I'm ready
Yeah,
to fight for a podium.
you're busy, just like Rich is busy.
Deka Ultra?
You're camping.
You screw up and you get a good 2-hour long workout in. Who
2
cares? No one expects anything. Yeah, you drop out after 2 hours. It's a great workout.
Okay.
Do you think, is this as goofy or more goofy than Goofy Games?
No, this is standardized,
It's as goofy.
repeatable.
It's
cousins.
pretty goofy, dude. it's pretty goofy.
I wouldn't
what are
put
we
it in the
testing?
Goofy Games. Was our Hybrid Ultra like custom event that we had earlier in the year? Was that Goofy Games?
Yo,
Goofy.
100%.
Okay,
Goofy
all
as
right.
We're not
Then
against Goofy
I changed
Games.
my mind. Then. All right.
We'll make up Goofy Games, no problem.
Well, again, my definition of goofy games is that you either have a scoring system that doesn't make sense or you can't define what you're testing. What is this the test of? You can't give me an answer, and so it's goofy games. But it doesn't mean it's bad.
Dylan Scott work rate. That's what it is.
Let's
not
how can
grindy
we
enough.
make this more like something they would do in the military then? What do we do here? Do we
Random. You pick out of a hat. You have to do a different zone in a different order every time.
like the hopper? Yeah,
Yeah, you
keep
wouldn't
it a
have
little
a
bit more
duration in
unknown.
mind.
Yeah.
That's
Some
true.
of you are gonna go 5 laps. Some of you are not.
You have to do farmers carry blindfolded and make
And
your
you'll
way.
be punished for other people's bad performances.
Yeah.
Yes,
You have to put
Yes.
on skis while doing the ski erg.
literal skis. Yeah, we got to see how that works. And of course, you just fight. You can just like
Yeah.
you do ram burpee battles.
There's one single ram
Ram
burpee on the
jousting?
course.
ram jousting.
Ram
No,
pugil
there's
sticks.
There's one single machine for every single zone, and you just have to
Oh.
fight people who just.
You got to go
like
hand
this-
to hand. Yeah,
And like
only-
you're on the rower, someone can like rip you off, so you're always ready.
just no
every run-
eye gouging. Everything else is fair.
Yeah.
Every run is actually a 500-meter yoke carry.
I mean, yeah, then now okay. I would
And you're
rather
going to
that
have
than
to. There's only
combat.
100 pounds on the yoke, but they rearrange where the weights are on the corners every lap or every run. It might be
It's like
all back
all
left,
front
one
right.
round. Yeah.
Are you prepared? Are you prepared?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Get-
honestly, I would consider it.
I think it's. A
I
cool
would
event,
consider it, depending on when
honestly.
this is. I would consider this. This is
Yeah, it's
this
like
is
if
in
it was
the
like
summer
December.
before championship season.
yeah. If it was
Oh,
just some time,
December. Or-
Yeah.
yeah, like that'd be good, like season cap.
Or
All right.
yeah, capper. Finish
what
it
do you
off.
call it? What would the event be? Is it just the Deka
Deka-
Ultra? Is it?
Deka Goofy, man.
Yeah.
What would you call it?
Yeah, I mean they're probably just going Deka Ultra,
Deka
right?
Ultra.
It
makes
does
sense.
gotta
make the
get
most sense.
Yeah. But so if we have to pick a winner right now, who are you going with?
Dylan,
Dylan?
and Chris.
Yeah.
Those are the odds. That's if we're setting
I think-
odds.
I'd probably go Lauren on the women's side, and then Dylan.
I wonder if they're gonna put money behind this thing. That would be insane. It's like we're gonna promise some more money. You guys ready? Yeah, sure.
I think they. My guess is they will. Just because
What are you doing shoe-wise for it?
Oh, Prime X.
how many syllables? Only 2?
Well, it's Adidas Addy Zero Prime X.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's more like it. Yeah.
4 words. That's what I'd go. I'd get the new ones. They look nice. Something like a super comp. Something like just big, nice.
I
Is
think
that
I'm
what you
swapping
advertise?
every
Homie.
Deka. Yeah, this is Super Comp Trainer V1.
Oh, it's a V1. Do you like it?
They're like, I want to say they're the most everything shoe I've ever worn.
Nice.
You put them on, and you're just like, this is the biggest stack height. This is the most cushion. This is the biggest everything
Best
I've ever
trail
done.
grip.
I might go something like super comp because I don't know how that Adidas, the outsole that they've been having recently has not worked very well on the indoor surfaces. But
What do we have here?
let's have a look at that. Look at that, some rubber. That's all right. That will push a sled. I mean, it
Cool.
won't be like ideal, but
You got a gap in here. You can't even see the channel, but it compresses so much there's rubber in there in case that touches the
Oh,
ground.
wow, that's a good
Look at that.
design.
We're talking a quarter knuckle deep there.
There's no
Quarter
way
knuckle.
that will compress.
Yeah.
I would definitely wear those super comps, and it will probably be really fun. I would have a blast doing it.
Yeah. Definitely need some cushioning. I think it is nice that
Speed
you
goat.
know you're never going to be running, at least on the high end, more than like 2.5 minutes in a row.
It'll be lovely.
Yeah.
Do you get to switch directions?
Be chaos. Like, because
I think you
presumably they're going to have
That's
to
when you
space,
joust.
they'd have to space out the waves realistically, because you're not going to have 200 different.
There's gonna be a
You're
ton
not
of
going to have
waiting
100
around.
people that want to do this.
There's a whole lot of waiting around. You don't think
I
they
think
can
they
get
should
100
have
people?
two big lanes, like 10-foot wide lanes, and every Deka you switch direction. So you do a counterclockwise in lane 1 and then a clock in lane 2. Just switch each time.
I don't know how they're going to logistically make this work to make sure people aren't waiting. Like, maybe
I
they'll
think if you send them off like with at least the length of the first run of a gap. Like if it's going to take, let's say on the slow end, 4 minutes for you to cover your 500 meters for that opening leg because people are going to pace themselves, you're not going to have people finish their first run before they get to the rower and finish the rower. And I think that's probably the way that you need
The
to do it.
logistics are going to suck for this.
Mm-hmm. They're going to cancel this thing. They can't be doing this. This doesn't make any
I
sense.
think they're doing it.
That or it's going to be like a 12-person invite.
No,
They'll call it the Elite 12.
That sounds great. I think they should do that, and they should stick everything that they do from then on should be based around needing it to be 12 people and never change anything that they do outside of that 12.
15.
What did the
right?
word 12 mean in ancient Sparta? Nothing? All right, we'll try ancient Rome. Greece? Something. There's some organization, some civilization that 12 was important.
We've made this
The
marketing
Mayans,
decision, and we must.
right? 12-12, the world was going to end.
There we go.
There we go.
Deca
And now-
Apocalypto.
Those Mayans over in
That's-
Greece, just
that's
down the road.
That's the word. And then every decision we will make around the sport will be based around this 12 that the Mayans gave us.
I think it should happen on New Year's Eve. I think it should start at 9 p.m. and you want to see someone cross the line by midnight. What better way to kick off a
I
Spartan
might sign
New
up
Year?
if it's a night race.
That's a great. Yeah, that's up Jack's
It's right up my alley.
Well, we're spiraling.
We've spiraled. Let's just finish this thing up. We did have a Hyrox out in Munich. James Kelly took that down 59.01. Thomas Verdict, he's back with a 60.03. And Peter Schiller with a 62.12. James Kelly is firmly, I wouldn't say firmly. No, where is he in the Elite 15? He had that time in Hong Kong. James Kelly, just on the recent episode of RMR Training Podcast, great dude. You know, his sled push and pull in Hong Kong was like 2 minutes collectively faster than this. So he ran pretty well with a 59.01. You figure if it was in Hong Kong, he would have run 58.0, and he doesn't have
Untapered.
untapered.
He's tapering for Chicago.
He'll be
Come
there.
here. Yeah.
And then, yeah, Tomas, who didn't have a very big 2023 season. He was in the Elite 15 in 2022 with a 60.03 is a really good spot for him. Peter Schiller, he's in the Elite 15 with his Hanover time. I believe it's like a 58.30 something. And so he runs 62 and change and remains in the Elite 15 for the duration of forever. And let's move on to the women. Jezebel Kremer won that one. She was 67.01. Kate Davies, 69.06.
She is
creeping
race
up.
ready.
I mean, that's slower than her last time, though.
I mean, like,
well,
every
always
weekend
racing.
she shows
Yeah.
up.
She races, man.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, I
She's
got
like-
this fitness now.
She's
in her
reminded me of
40s.
like Elliot McGuire back in 2013 when he did like 50 races in the year. It's like take one off. Just
She's
one
only got
week.
so many years left. She's cramming them in.
Yeah,
That's
right.
true.
She has this fitness now.
Not like
And
alive, just like as a high
It's
level.
like, what are you saying?
She can do whatever she wants after this. And then Jasmine Miedel was in third and 70.42. So nothing happened on the women's end. Nothing happened on the men's end.
Am I wrong that we haven't really seen many women's times pop so far this year? We've seen a lot like right around 60 flat for the men, slightly under plus or minus 30 seconds or so of that. But like the women, they've kind of stagnated around 66, 67 on the high end, it seems.
We haven't seen Lauren. We haven't seen Meg. We haven't seen
that's the
Michaela.
obvious reason. But I'm saying like the next crew, because we're still seeing James Kelly and Tomas and like some of the other names that you've mentioned, like the race in Madrid. They're still putting out those times, but we haven't really seen like a new one on the women's side yet.
Not yet.
Those three just scared everyone off. The men's side, everyone got hope last year.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. I'm looking at the list, and there's some name on here that does not seem correct.
See, Hunter's his most recent race post is down to 3.
What is that?
3, no longer
Yeah,
4.
Yeah, it's no longer 4. He's down to 3 races.
Okay.
Which ones?
DC and then 2 Europe races.
Gotcha.
Although
isn't he
DC
doing-
now is only, from what Magita said, only open.
That's how it always was.
Only open weights, not even an option. So what is he doing there? Doubles?
Well, he'll do the Elite 15.
In DC, that's right.
David
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
So
That's
there's
right.
just an Elite 15 race and there's not a pro race.
So how many
And-
opportunities the U.S. or North America based athletes have without traveling across the ocean?
Right
even
now there
get that.
is Chicago Pro, Dallas Pro, Anaheim or LA Pro, and then after that there is a Miami race which is supposed to be inside. That is in February. And then
Yeah.
every other race after that is past the last major championship. So there's 4 races for athletes to try to break into that Elite 15.
And 3 of them are before the calendar rolls over.
I don't know what that means though. We don't know
No
what that
February
means.
Chicago announce.
No, yeah, right. There's not. I don't know. Did they announce a
They
fall
normally have one, but
Yeah, they've
or
had one
spring?
every
I
year.
mean,
No spring. Yeah,
there's no spring one yet. Okay.
you
Yeah,
would have
but
thought
my-
that it'd be announced yet.
yeah. My point on that is, so basically 3 of the 4 opportunities, you're hoping that you run a fast time early in the season and the rest of the world doesn't knock off your time in the 3+ months until that last major. Like, that's ridiculous.
They are gonna reset these. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. But it says calendar year. Like if they wipe them all clean, and then it's like, okay, actually starting now, January 1st, you have to get a new time in to get into these next 2 majors, which is there's a February and a March. I'd be like, great. then Miami would be our only opportunity for that.
Yeah. Wow.
So not great.
Should only
Not
need
great.
one.
All you need is one. Just gotta pop one. And that's why I'm gonna do all of them.
So VJ is going to be in Dallas as well with you, right? You know anyone
Yeah.
else?
Not right now. Chicago, the B race is looking stacked. It's going to be me, Marcus, Colin Stiefert, Anas, Paleo. There's like 5 or 6, and I'm not sure who else after. I'm sure. That dude Norm Woodring, I think, is coming up. The CrossFitter. So it's going to be like, 10 dudes solid. I think will be out there for that race.
It's good.
You and Playo are just gonna be popping off the ground up in front, just prancing.
Ding, 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 ding.
VJ
Yep.
also.
VJ's
in
not
Dallas.
gonna be in Chicago.
Oh, sorry. Dallas, my bad.
VJ doesn't
Goodness.
pop; he glides.
He glides.
That's true. Yeah.
Me and Paleo, bing, 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 bing. It'll be great. All right, what do we got on the Running Public this week? Did we have a guest on Friday?
Oh my goodness, we did and we didn't. Rich, we did and we didn't.
It seems to be common.
Mm-hmm.
We had a guy come on and his file didn't render.
Damn.
We have like 12 minutes from him,
That's so infuriating.
and we don't know why. Like he didn't disappear during. So I explained it on our most recent episode. I know you don't listen. We have a backup cloud recording, but his levels are like at a 10 out of 100 volume, and ours are like at an 80. But because it's
Yeah.
one file, I can't separate them.
We got something for that. You can shoot that. I'll shoot.
You have
We'll talk
something for
offline.
that?
Yeah, we can figure that out.
It's one file. It's not 3.
I think it will. I think it will level it out.
Dang.
Okay, let's talk. You might
Let's
save
talk.
our bacon.
You gotta make that brought to you by the RMR training app. If we allow this to happen, we get that. in
We
there.
will.
Give me a little plug. I'm gonna get
Rammer.
in there and just start adding stuff in there.
This might be the first episode Rich listens to.
Definitely not. I've listened to some, but not gonna listen to this one. What else? What do you guys got for Tuesday?
Q&A.
Q&A.
We haven't done a Q&A in a while.
That's not true. Impossible.
It's very true. It's
I
been
don't
at
know.
least 5 weeks,
Wow, that's rock solid.
maybe
Rock
longer.
solid. Like I said, I just had James Kelly on RMR Training Podcast. We'll get back to the regular stuff with Kent and Meg here soon. But yeah, that's all. And next week, what do we got for races, Jack? What's going on
Goofy
in the world?
games. Got some goofy
Oh,
games.
is Go Ruck this weekend?
Go Ruck?
Not Go
3
Ruck.
weeks.
Battle Bunker.
Yeah, I think I thought it was next
2
week.
weeks.
2 weeks. Oh, 2
2 weeks.
weeks. Okay, I got
That's the
timing wrong.
27th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got anything this next week?
I don't know, but coming up soon, we're gonna have
I'm
like
racing a
trifecta.
Spartan.
Oh yeah.
Man, big announcement.
Where are people gonna find you?
They'll have to find out.
Yeah,
We'll
you
have to
gotta
find
you gotta
out.
make sure to see however many
Look at
races are this
loaded
year.
Calendar.
Yeah.
Are you,
I
are
caught
you
a
gonna pull
salmon with my bare hands yesterday on my trail
For
run.
real? Going
Yeah.
upstream?
They were caught in the shallows. I went in there and wrestled it.
They have
Are they
salmon,
down?
and you're part of the. I thought they were only like Pacific Northwest.
Well, I let it go because it's not in season.
Okay.
Nice.
But I have video proof that I grabbed a salmon.
Throw it on
Yeah,
that.
That's
throw it on the
kind of
gram.
goofy game style event.
That would
salmon-
be, that would be.
That would be fantastic. You
Yeah.
go
There-
from catching
I didn't have
salmon
gloves
bare
on,
hands
so it was
into
a
a
tough,
farmer's
it was a
carry.
tough ask.
You didn't have gloves on?
I know, it's hard to even believe.
I don't
So
even know what you're
anyways,
saying.
when we put ours together, I've got a spot we can locate our goofy games.
I was
Salmon
watching.
run.
Maybe it's just because I've been watching football, but there's been like watching network commercials. There was something that I was interested in, and after there's a show that is actors or Hollywood personalities.
Special forces, special operations.
Yeah, like there's already a
World's
place for this.
toughest test.
Yeah. Do we need to have every Goofy Games be this show that is on NBC?
No, some football
Fox?
channel.
One of the football channels. CBS? I don't know. But
Yeah.
that I think is appropriate to
Do you think they're getting the Randy Moss treatment? Like they're sitting in a truck, like in between competitions.
or for something like what Kent did on the selection. It's just like,
That was brutal.
okay, great. That's what we're tuning in for.
Yeah.
But like, hey, let's get these niche athletes together and see who the best is at holding their breath.
Yeah.
Sick, dude.
So I do have the calendar that I sent. So next week, Battle Bunker preview is what we said, and then World's Toughest Mudder and Trifecta World Championships. So that's gonna be pretty busy.
We're gonna draft for trifecta, right?
Yeah, we are. Lindsay just said
Next-
she's going.
Next week we can either create our own Goofy Games, or I thought there was something else that
We should create a goofy games.
you want to
I'm
create a
fine with
Goofy
that.
Games.
And if
I'm gonna
anybody
actually do
has
some
some
work on
ideas, let us know.
Yeah. Let's put this together.
Yeah.
All right, squad. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody listening all the way to the very end. Make sure you subscribe. Share this with a friend if they are into just talking about very niche sporting happenings. That's all for us. Talk to you soon.